Hey, over the past few years, I've worked with hundreds of founders with ADHD. And this business actually started from my own personal experience for many years before that. So there's one thing that's been incredibly consistent. We don't need more courses. We don't need more knowledge. We don't need more skills. Most of us already know what to do. That's actually the most frustrating part. It's not the information, it's the execution. The problem is consistency, week to week. Most ADHD founders I work with are intelligent, creative, articulate, capable. We have a lot of ideas, way too many ideas. And the irony is that that's part of the problem. So there's so many things we could do, so many things we want to do, that the system just overloads and we get overwhelmed. Everything feels important. Everything feels urgent. And somehow nothing gets done. So we end up in this really uncomfortable place. You feel stuck, but at the same time, you're very aware of your potential. You know you're capable of more, and that tension is exhausting. So that's what it felt like for most of my life. That's what almost every founder I talk to describes in some version. You're not confused. You're not unskilled. You're not lazy. You know what to do. You often even know how to do it. You're just not doing it. And that's the part that's hard to explain, even harder to fix. So the reason this isn't a discipline problem is simple. Trying harder just doesn't actually work for how our brains are wired. That's not how we respond. That's not what we're designed for. So when we tell ourselves, I just need to push more, or this time I'll force it, we're fighting against the grain. And fighting your own biology is exhausting. So willpower works for a moment, but it doesn't hold. And when inevitably something drops, something else happens that's worse. We don't just miss the goal. We now tell ourselves a story. This is how I am. I can't be consistent. I always fall off. So we recommit. We promise ourselves this time will be different. We try to be more disciplined. And when then that doesn't stick either, it reinforces that same narrative. That's how the shame loop forms. Not because you're incapable or not able to do it. It's because the approach was never designed for how we work. So if it's not discipline, what actually does work for us? What works is using the things that we already respond to. So one of the biggest ones is externalizing things. Most of us are trying to hold everything in our head. Commitments live in our head. Deadlines live in our head. And when we don't follow through, nothing really happens. There's no immediate consequence. No one is waiting. No one is expecting anything. But we know this about ourselves. So when we tell another person we'll have something done, even if we do it in the very last hour, we usually show up and get it done somehow. Not because we're scared, not because we are nervous. We care. We want to do a good job, and we care about how that we're seen as competent. So we respond to those social expectations, and that is something that we can actually leverage. So another thing we know that we don't do well is when everything is important, we take on too much, we spread ourselves thin, and it feels like everything has equal value, so then nothing actually gets our undivided attention, and then it's really hard to get anything done. So when we do have a few things or one thing that's really important, we tend to lock in, we obsess, we get into that hyper-focus mode. And that's when we actually are often doing our best work. We get in a flow, the quality goes up, we follow through. But then, it's hard to get into that. So what actually works for us ADHD founders is pretty simple. Fewer commitments, made visible, shared with other people, reviewed regularly. That's it. This is not another program that gives you homework you already know you're not going to do. You don't need more things on your plate. You already have enough work. This exists for one reason. For the people that actually need help doing the work, to help you actually do the work you're already carrying. Not extra assignments, not projects, not busy work, not frameworks, not things you have to learn. Just a simple structure that you step into immediately and follow through just starts to happen. You're not adding more to your plate, you're committing to less with a group and then actually following through with it. So that's the missing piece, I feel like. Not motivation and not knowing how to do it or what to do. It's the actually doing it. So what does this look like week to week when you join the program? So here's what it actually looks like in practice. We're not going to add more to your plate. I'm not giving you modules and curriculum and stuff. You step into a simple framework immediately that helps you get your stuff done. So in the first few days, you slow down and we get clear on what actually matters. Not everything. There's probably a few things that matter more, a few things that are going to move the needle. So we strip away the noise. Then you stop overcommitting. That's one of our problems. You create a simple plan for the week. So you're not going to do this alone. You're in a small group. And then you're with people who understand how it works. You understand the challenges. So you're able to support each other and not feel like you're doing it alone. So, and these people become people you want to show up for. You want to have that connection and just enough accountability that actually pushes us to get things done. So when you're following through on things, not everything, but the right things, when you show up, you're not restarting, you're building momentum. You have something to share, you have something to celebrate, and that builds over time. So you have proof you can trust yourself, and then you build your confidence. And that's when the weekly rhythm clicks. You plan, you commit, you follow through, and then again, review next week. And it's that boring monotony, it's that consistency that we struggle with. That's what we're missing. So the reason this trial exists is simple. Most of us don't struggle because we sign up for the wrong things. We struggle because we don't do most of those things, and routines take time to settle in, and we don't need to add more. What usually happens is we get excited, we join something, life gets busy, we don't do the thing, we didn't watch the video, we didn't start the course. Now we don't want to go to the session because we're behind, we're going to feel stupid. And then it's just another thing that we feel, crap about. And at that point, a lot of people quit. So not because it didn't work, but because, it didn't fit for their lifestyle. So they already feel like they failed, and I don't want that. So I want you to be able to come in, no risk, get up to speed as soon as you can, start getting into the routine. Takes a few weeks maybe to feel like you got a rhythm. And then once you're connected and you're starting to see the value, and then you can say, okay, this is something that's going to work for me. But in the beginning, no risk, no long-term commitment, just time and giving it a try. So you step in the routine, you meet the people, you see how it feels. If it helps, you'll know. If it doesn't, you shouldn't pay for it. So by the end of the trial, what most people feel isn't just hype or frustration. Most people, not everybody, but most feel calmer, optimistic, confident. And not because everything is perfect and there's this big expectation that I'm going to change everything for you, but it's because they're finally in a routine and they're in a rhythm and they're following through. So if you've been burned by these big expensive programs that make a lot of promises, I get it because I have too. But if you try this and it works, then you can stay and it becomes a new part of your routine that a lot of people find really valuable. So this isn't right for everyone, and I understand that. So it's really good to give it a try. But if everything we've talked about feels familiar, I'd love for you to come try it. No pressure. You can just jump in, connect with me if you have any questions, and within a month, we'll know if it's a good fit. I'm happy to respond to any questions, email me, and if you want to start, you can do that below. So whether you join us or not, just know that you are not broken, you're not behind, you are capable of more, and it's not always as bad as it may seem. So with that, I hope to see you on the inside, and I will talk to you soon. See you guys.